Why the 2 seed matters for the Buffalo Bills, an injury update, and my 5 predictions for Sunday against the Jets are coming your way today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, folks, welcome in. This will be the last conversation that we have before the Buffalo Bills host the New York Jets in Week 17 at Highmark Stadium and look for win number 13 on the season. We're going to give you my 5 predictions for Sunday. We'll talk to Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills about the injuries. But I want to start right here. And it's what's on the line on Sunday. As you know, the Buffalo Bills win this game. They are the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. And if that's the case, of course, they can treat Week 18 like it's a bye. The Kansas City Chiefs are the 1 seed. There will be no actual bye for the Bills. But if they win this game, they can be no other seed than the 2 seed, and it allows them next week to rest players and position them for a run in the postseason. So obviously that's a big deal, and that's an important reason why the Bills should want to win this game and be the 2 seed, because they can treat Week 18 like it's a bye. But even more importantly, home field games matter for the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. They matter all the time. They're 7-0 at home this year. They're on the brink of being 8-0. But they're very important for the postseason. And as we've discussed, if the Bills are the 2 seed, they have at least 2 home games in Buffalo. Of course, the wild card round and then the divisional round. And let's face it, there's a pretty clear path to the Bills playing the Ravens in round 2. And if that happens, you want that game to be in Buffalo. You don't want to go back to Baltimore this season. But some people don't think that home field matters. And I'm here to tell you that it absolutely does. Under Sean McDermott, in the postseason, the Buffalo Bills are 5-2 at home. They're 0-4 on the road. I know that the loss last year to Kansas City in the divisional round, that looms large as a home playoff loss, and so does the 27-10 loss to Cincinnati. 5-2 at home, 0-4 on the road under Sean McDermott. For the history of the Buffalo Bills, 15-7 for home playoff games, 4-14 on the road. Home field advantage matters for the Buffalo Bills, and it especially matters in the postseason. So there's been some commentary out there that I've seen from some that are saying, it doesn't matter. The 2 seed doesn't matter. Oh, it absolutely matters. Unless you want to go to Baltimore in round 2. You want the Bills to be the 2 seed. Some notable availability items for this game. We'll talk specifically about the injuries in the next segment with Dr. Kyle Trimble. But Matt Milano and Rasul Douglas, they're healthy. They have no game day designation. They're back this week against the Jets. Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, and Cam Lewis are all questionable. And, of course, Hamlin and Rapp have had injuries that have lingered. A neck for Rapp, a rib injury for Hamlin. And they've missed the last couple of games. And with Cam Lewis also being questionable, you think if a couple of those miss or 3 of them miss or whatever, there's probably a pretty clear path for Micah Hyde to make his 2024 debut this week. Now, I don't know for sure. I mean, obviously Cole Bishop's still in the mix, Kareem Jackson in the mix, but it could be that ripe opportunity to have Micah Hyde on the field, and certainly Sean McDermott was not committing to that during any of his Friday media availability, but you know that it's a possibility. But here's the deal here with these injuries in particular, with Milano coming back, with Douglas coming back, and the idea that Rapp and Hamlin could miss this game, as we're all thinking a lot about this Bills defense and the struggles that they've had in particular over the last 3 games against the Lions, the Rams, and the Patriots. I think we've learned a lot, and it's certainly plenty to be concerned about. The third down defense in particular has been very poor. But if there's anything that we've learned about the 2024 Buffalo Bills defense, I think these 3 things are true, and it's all relevant to these players and their availability. The Bills defense is at its best when Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin are the safeties. Pretty clearly, right? Pretty clearly. They've missed the last few games, and you've certainly felt their presence in the lineup, right? You've felt their lack of their presence in the lineup. The Bills defense is at its best when Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp are available and starting at safety. The Bills defense is also at its best when Rasul Douglas is the cornerback opposite of Christian Benford. And I don't think that Kyer Elam is a lost cause by any means. But this defense is clearly at its best when Rasul Douglas is playing opposite of Christian Benford. I think it just matters a lot for their zone coverage and how they want to space the field. And when you try to disguise coverage and layer it, you want guys that are familiar playing next to each other that they can squeeze and communicate. I mean, squeeze routes and communicate and pass off things and be at their landmarks and give yourself your best chance to play good pass coverage. And then number 3, this defense is at its best when Dorian Williams is playing linebacker next to Terrell Bernard. And I think the Bills have had some opportunities to see some different combinations, whether it's Spector and Bernard, Spector and Williams, Williams and Bernard, Milano and Bernard. Like, you've seen these combinations this year. You've seen a decent amount of playing time in those combinations. The best ones, Williams and Bernard. And I know that's challenging with Milano because he's been such a great player, and maybe he will be a great player again for this defense. It's week 17. You're getting ready to go to the playoffs. There's no time to sort this out and figure it out and tinker, right? You got to know who your best options are and go game plan and try to win games. Predictively, I have no idea what's going to happen. Predictively, I'd probably guess that Milano is going to be right back in there as the full-time guy next to Bernard. But this defense has clearly been at its best this year when Dorian Williams is playing next to Terrell Bernard. And so now we have some opportunities here to see how the Bills process all of that, right? I feel pretty certain that they would agree with me that Rapp and Hamlin are their best options at safety. I'm certain they'd agree with me that Rasul Douglas is their best option opposite of Christian Benford. Do they agree with me on Dorian Williams as the guy next to Terrell Bernard? We'll find out. One quick roster note here. Balin Spector, he's back on injured reserve. Nicholas Moreau re-signed to the roster. The Bills have had Moreau on the team throughout the entire offseason. He spent most of the season with the Bills. In fact, when Spector came back a few weeks ago, that's when Moreau left the team, right? He was released, but now he's back on the active roster, which is a good spot to be for the Bills to be able to go to the Rolodex and have a guy that's been around the team pretty much all season long to be able to sign at this point in the season. So Nicholas Moreau back, Balin Spector back to injured reserve. All right, coming up next, we're talking to Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. Going to get his thoughts on the injury status of these players, so be sure to stick with us. Folks, there's nothing like being at the stadium, watching Josh Allen throw touchdown passes. It's incredible. If you want to get to the stadium, then you got to get to the Game Time app. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. Look, purchasing tickets can be stressful, but that's not the case with Game Time. The app is easy to navigate. They give you flash deals. They give you a picture from your seat so you know exactly what your view is going to look like when you get there. When you buy the ticket, they send it right to your phone so you don't have to dig through emails to find it. Plus, they specialize in last-minute tickets. So you can get a great deal on a ticket right up until the day of the event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. I'm joined now by Kyle Trimble. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He runs bangedupbills.com. You can follow him on Twitter at bangedupbills. Joins us each week to get ready for the upcoming game from an injury perspective. And there's not a whole lot new this week, but there is one new injury. That's Cam Lewis. Cam Lewis, shoulder injury, limited in practice all week long, listed as questionable for the game. And this is notable. We'll talk about Rapp and Hamlin in a second because they're also questionable. So the Bills could be a little shorthanded on safety. But let's start with Cam Lewis and what you know there.
So we don't have a ton of new information on him. We know he popped up on the injury report this week. He was limited all week. I went back and looked. He was on the injury report prior to week 10, which means he injured his shoulder sometime against Miami. I don't know whether those injuries are the same injury or whether it's just two separate instances, but it's worth noting when guys are a repeat offender, I guess, if you will, on the injury report. I did have some Twitter user point out that when he tried tackling the Lions offensive tackle that they scored that touchdown on, he did lead with his left shoulder and hit him, but he popped right back up. We didn't see him on the injury report the next week. And looking through the film, it's hard to tell when he plays 100% of snaps, like what really would have happened there. So we knew he was a red non-contact jersey all week, or at least Thursday and Friday. And then we don't know what his status is. I'm willing to bet he's going to at least try playing because he did play through the last shoulder injury. And, even if he does move back to reserve role, he's still great on special teams.
Yeah, and he obviously fills that starting dime back role for the Bills when they want to get into that package, which gets us to Rapp and Hamlin. It's been a month, dude. I feel like every week we're talking Rapp and Hamlin, and we know that Rapp has a neck injury, Hamlin has a rib. I'm guessing like those are just tend to be injuries that can linger. Maybe there's some slow play involved here, but once again, limited all week like they were last week, questionable for the game.
Exactly. I mean, I don't have a great read on either of those. The problem with Rapp is the fact that he hits with his head so much and just is such a physical player. It's hard to tell when he actually has an injury versus when he's going to pop right back up there. So it just is what it is with this stuff there. I did read in Joe Biscaglia with The Athletic. I did read his article today that he thinks that he's going to be going this week. And he was the only one in practice not with a red non-contact jersey this week. So it seems like he's going to be on track to go. That'd be great because he has been missed back there, even though they've done well with him and out without him. And then as for Hamlin, Joe also went into stating that the rib injury was more severe than they originally thought. So that caught them by surprise. His words, not mine. So I don't know exactly how severe or where the rib injury is at, but the fact that they can sit him and rest and give them time to actually get right instead of rushing him back out there and be ineffective has me thinking they're going to have him sit at least one more week, knowing what's at stake in week 18 and beyond.
Yeah, it's like you got to win this game, get the 2 seed, and then you can do a lot of rest things in week 18. But getting Rapp back would be a pretty big, notable thing for this Bills defense if that could happen this week, especially when you consider Hamlin might not go, Lewis might not go. You don't know if Micah Hyde's actually ready to play. It feels like the messaging from Sean McDermott doesn't necessarily suggest that they're overly eager to get him on the field. He's even said this in his press conference on Friday that he's really here to kind of help people along, right? Not necessarily to play. So we'll see if that's his debut. Of course, Kareem Jackson's still around, Cole Bishop, but the safety thing for Sunday could be quite interesting especially if, there's these 3 guys are out, but it looks like maybe Rapp, the most likely candidate there. And then our favorite guy to talk about, Dr. Kyle Trimble. We've had more conversations about Curtis Samuel than I think any player in the history of our time together. We've done this for a while, every week ahead of Bills games. Curtis Samuel, ribs limited, questionable for the game. He's been limited all week in practice. I don't even know if it matters if he plays because his role's so insignificant, but I guess I'll ask if you have anything here.
Not really. I mean, it's a rib injury. He injured it late in the first half against Detroit. They called it a shoulder injury at the time. He came back early in the third, continued playing, then they had changed it to a shoulder. I mean, the guy has 201 yards and 1 touchdown on the season. He has been a non-factor all year. put him out, even if he is have an injury designation, sit him out, get him healthy. Maybe he has something for the playoffs. But I mean, I was talking with you before we went on air. It's like, are we tied to him for how much longer for his contract? Because he's just been a huge disappointment. And, for the money we're paying him in his past injury history, this is why you don't pay these kind of guys the money. I know it's market rate, but still, we could have probably got way more production for half the price.
Silver lining. It's a good thing he doesn't have a role, because for as often as he's out of the lineup, we'd actually miss him, right? So there's maybe
true.
the silver lining there. I didn't tell you that I was going to ask you about this, but Rasul Douglas, Matt Milano back this week. No injury designation. Based on what you've thought to be true about both of those situations, does the timeline add up? Are you feeling good about both of those guys being able to go and not have any restrictions?
Both timelines are adding up there. I mean, with the suspected MCL sprain, now Cooper Kupp fell on his leg when they were trying to guard him on the touchdown. If you recall, this is when Taylor Rapp ran into Douglas. He had suffered a back injury, and then he came back in for a few plays, was working out what appeared to be his left knee, and then kind of just disappeared from the screen. So he missed what looked to be, he missed 2 games, but what looked to be an MCL sprain. And if that is indeed the case, that's the same side he injured heading into the playoffs last year in week 18 against Miami. So it's smart to let them go. And even though he said he was good to go last week, it was smart they held him out because he needs that needed cut and pivot, especially as cornerback. And then as for Matt Milano, it was smart to hold him out. I know he was looking good in practice the past few weeks, jumping, run around, whatnot. But guys on average, regardless of position, miss about a game from a historical standpoint for the Bills. So if it's a timeline and with all the lateral movement and 4 backward motion that the linebackers have to go, it's smart to let him, miss that time and then come back, especially as he's going to continue to ramp up, because we don't want that thing to linger and then he's out for when we really need him.
Well, it's week 17. Hopefully week 18 is just get through it, right? The Bills win this game. They can have essentially their own little bye week in week 18, which means get through this game, win the damn thing, but also let's not have a whole lot to talk about next time you and I link up for a conversation. Dr. Kyle Trimble, thanks for always coming on and sharing your expertise.
Absolutely, Joe. Go Bills.
Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. As you know, we had the Rally on the River at Buffalo River Works, and that property is incredible. One of the coolest places I've ever been to. So much to do. They've got entertainment, right? Arcade games. They've got hockey rinks. They've got zip lining, amusement rides. They've also got restaurants. They've got bars. It's an unbelievable place. You would never be bored there for a second. You could take the whole family. And I recently found out that their other location was the first brew pub in Buffalo, the beautiful red brick Pearl Street Grill and Brewery. Pearl Street just remodeled their main floor, so the dining room now converts into a stage for live music after Sabres home games on the weekends and even during brunches. You get live music all year round. And of course, many Bills fans have been to weddings at Pearl Street or Riverworks, and their in-house wedding coordinators make the whole process easy, fun, and totally customizable. Want an elegant, historic wedding with beautiful patios and sunset photos? No problem. How about a custom Buffalo Bills-themed wedding? If you can dream it up, they can make it happen. This is also true for holiday parties, corporate events, team building, casual happy hours, and any type of event. Also, sports fans, you can reserve groups to watch the games on the big screen at Riverworks. Or if you're headed to a Sabres home game this year, be sure to stop by Pearl Street before, after, or during the game. Enjoy some live music, crispy wings that are now made in tallow instead of seed oils. That's a big dub right there. Or one of their new OM organic beers. They are delicious. Pearl Street Grill and Brewery and Buffalo Riverworks, the most authentically Buffalo venues for everything from dinner to live music to your perfect wedding. PearlStreetGrill.com or BuffaloRiverworks.com. All right, folks, it is prediction time here on the podcast. Before we get there, I'd love to extend an invitation to you to join the Locked On Bills subtext community. We've been doing this for a while now. It's so fun. We've got a lot that we offer through the subtext community. What is it? Well, you get text messaging with me, and I send out a lot of texts throughout the course of the week. You get my first reaction to all major Bills news. You get my in-game text. So while I'm watching any Bills game, I send out a text pretty much after every single drive, let you know what I'm thinking, let you know what I'm seeing, let you know how I'm feeling, right? I get a little animated in there sometimes. A lot of all caps texts go out. So don't miss out on those. Plus, you get the all 22 review film clips. After every Bills game, I spend the next day buried in the tape. And at the end of it, I send out a link to a video that's only for the subtext community. And you get to see 30, 45 minutes of me breaking down the film from the most recent Bills game. You get that the day after the game before I drop the all 22 review podcast. So check it out. Tons of features. Oh, by the way, you get in the Discord channel, the Herd Mentality Discord channel. We've got almost 1,500 Bills fans in there talking Bills, talking Sabres, life, cooking. We have a book club, all kinds of stuff, trivia contests. We do a weekly hangout that I am part of. I go live in there, basically a total extra episode just for the Discord community. So check it out. There's a link in today's show notes to join the Locked On Bills subtext community, and you'll get those in-game texts, the all 22 file, and so much more. Again, a link in today's show notes to be part of it. All right, let's do the predictions here. And part of these this is just a difficult week to do predictions because the weather for this game, not looking great. Temperature looks fine. It's going to be in the 50s. That's cool, right? But rain, looking like a decent amount of rain. As of the recording of this podcast on Friday afternoon, it's showing like a 90% chance of like a half inch of rain. So I don't know if that's not going to come through or what, but certainly that makes projecting things in a football game a little bit difficult. So keep that in mind. But I do have 5 predictions nonetheless. Number 1, put me down for 3 Josh Allen touchdowns. They might be rushing, they might be passing, but I think he has 3 or more touchdowns in this game. Obviously, probably his last opportunity to really go out and play a full game to improve any statistical metrics that would help him be the NFL MVP. I think he gets 3 or more touchdowns. And look, if the Bills win this game and they're the 2 seed, I'd expect Josh Allen to start next week against New England. He's got a pretty impressive streak of starts that I don't think the Bills will want to mess up, but it's probably, maybe a series or 2, maybe a quarter, at the most a half, and then get him out of the game. So I think you'll still see Josh Allen for at least a play against the Patriots if the Bills win this game. But this is his last meaningful opportunity to build that MVP resume. And I'm not debating that. The conversations about the debate have just been deplorable, to be honest with you. There's just nothing. I just don't see enough good conversations where people actually discuss the merits of both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, because they're both having MVP caliber seasons. And there's so many different layers to the conversation. And it's just about, okay, who do you want to be a champion for? And then how do you make the other guy look like crap? And that's not good conversation. I want nothing to do with it. Not a thing to do with it. But anyways, number 1, Josh Allen, 3 touchdowns. Number 2, I am predicting a defensive end sack for the Buffalo Bills from a player that's not Greg Rousseau. And folks, it's been a while since that's happened. Greg Rousseau's doing his thing. He's still getting pretty regular sacks. But we haven't seen Von Miller get a sack since week 11 against Kansas City. A.J. Epinesa hasn't gotten a sack since week 10 against Indianapolis. Javon Solomon hasn't gotten a sack since week 8 against Seattle. DeJuan Smoot hasn't gotten a sack since week 7 against Tennessee. And Casey Tuhill hasn't gotten a sack since week 3 against Jacksonville. This is nuts. I mean, you've heard me talk for years about my concern that the Bills don't have impact defensive linemen that can really affect teams late in games. And I think it's been the root cause of why they have had playoff elimination games against the Chiefs and the Bengals. And obviously, I don't like how it's trending going into this postseason. However, given that the Jets could be down to like their 4th and 5th tackle, they'll at least be down to their 4th. Could they be down to their 5th as well? We'll see what happens with Morgan Moses. Come on now. The Bills should be able to get to Aaron Rodgers at least once from somebody off the edge. It's not Greg Rousseau. So put me down for a defensive end sack from, I guess it would be either A.J. Epinesa, Von Miller, DeJuan Smoot, or Javon Solomon. Those are the 4 other defensive ends that aren't Greg Rousseau. Number 3, put me down for at least 72 rushing yards for James Cook. That puts him at 1,000 yards for the season. I think the Bills will run the ball well against the Jets, especially if they don't have Quinnen Williams. If they don't have Quinnen Williams, like, good night. The Bills should run the ball for a ton of yards. But whether it's not really having good edge setters, not really having good run-stopping defensive tackles that aren't Quinnen Williams, my own belief in the Bills' rushing offense, I think they'll be productive, and I think that James will get the 72 yards that he needs to have 1,000 rushing yards. Number 4, I wanted to do something related to some level of belief that I think the Bills defense will play better this week, and the best way that I can come up with that is I think that the Jets will score 20 or less points. 20 or less. So if they score 20 on the dot, I'm correct. If they score 21 or more, then I miss. I just feel like there's a lot of heat on the Bills defense right now. I think they can feel that, and they got to play better, and they're going to get Rasul Douglas back this week at least. We'll see what happens with the safeties at a minimum. They've had a lot more time playing, so you'd like to think they can be better. But home game, weather, put me down for 20 or less points for the Jets. And then lastly, I do have the Bills winning this game. I just feel like they're going to take care of their business. They're going to be the 2 seed. Hopefully it looks pretty enough for everyone to not be pissed off all week about it, because it's sometimes that's tough. It's like, the Bills win, but it doesn't look as good as so many people want. And then I feel like I'm talking about a team that lost a game sometimes. It's crazy. So hopefully the Bills win and it's pretty, and we can be excited and rest against the Patriots and get ready for whatever team Buffalo hosts in the opening round of the playoffs. So my predictions: 3 Josh Allen touchdowns, a sack from a defensive end not named Greg Rousseau, 72 yards or more for James Cook rushing the ball, Jets 20 points or less, and a Bills dub. And with that, the hay is in the barn. We've done all we can, folks. We got ready for this game, did everything we can. Only thing that's left is for the Buffalo Bills to go get this win and improve to 13-3 on the season. All right, that's it for today. That's it for this week on the podcast. I look forward to catching up with you after the game and, of course, on the All-22 review and all the things we got planned for next week during Week 18. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.